We have a guest speaker today. And something I forgot to say, we had a picnic last week. If you weren't there, you missed it. We had tons of people, tons of food, glorious weather, and lots of drumming. So it's fun seeing like 50 people drumming around Grandfather Drum and just having a good old time. So thank you for everyone that, all the hard work, you guys. I mean, thank you so much. Huh? What? What chili feed?
Okay, real quick. Next month, we're going to do a chili cook-off. It's going to be a contest. And so we'll pick...
the most?
Yeah, the best chili. And then we'll have a prize. So we'll get a date picked and we'll let everybody know about it. And also today after church, there's a Reiki share again. Anybody that would like to come, 1:30 to 2:30 or 3:30, a couple hours. So chili.
Will that be a weekend thing?
What?
The chili cook-off?
Yeah, it'll be like after Sunday, like on the service.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Judges could probably be bribed too, so if you really want to.
Well, we're all.
Oh, darn.
All of it.
Okay. Actually, I forgot to say something, and I know I do it this time of year sometimes. If you're in an organization that the United Way is the United Way is a great organization. The companies make it a little bit uncomfortable for employees sometimes to contribute. So if you're in one of those situations, you can put down the Divine Fellowship on that form. So, and we get checks, 3 times a year? Four times a year, quarterly. And thank you so much for the people that do that. We really, really do appreciate it. And if you would like to do that, haven't? Cool. Wonderful. We have this guy. You know, when are you going on your vacation?
End of October.
Cool. Mexico, end of October. So, I guess I shouldn't say that, huh? Oh, well. I know. Oh, well. For those of you who have not heard Christopher before, you're in for a treat. About half, I'd say a third to a half the people that are here are ones that we haven't seen in a while. So that's kind of cool. We never know. There's thousands of people in the Tri-Cities, literally, that say they belong to the Divine Fellowship. Seriously. Yeah, I know. It's really kind of bizarre because our normal service is, 75, 80. Sometimes it bounces up to close to 100 sometimes. And, of course, Easter and Christmas, it's always, wall to wall. But so is every other church. But most of those people have not even seen this guy. So unless they go to YouTube, then they're missing it all. What an opportunity. Priest from the Liberal Catholic Church, Rosicrucian, Egyptian mysticism, tons of stuff. Get up here and talk and get me out of this, will you?
Hey, Phil, get out of here. Good morning. I have been gone a lot. I've been doing a lot of things. It's been really interesting. I want to share some of that with you this morning. And when I bring a piece of paper that's folded like this, means I've been thinking about what I'm going to talk about. So I'll put that there for now. I do want to say this, though. Yesterday, I was here at Marianne's workshop. It was excellent. She did a super job. It was called Secret Science and Strategies of Success Getting Started. And it went from 9 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon. There was about 12 people there, and it was very, very, very good. She did an excellent job. I know she comes in, and there she is, right there. Stand up. So if she does something again, if you have the opportunity, check it out. Check it out. Okay, well, let me tell you about a little adventure I had that was really, really interesting and really got me thinking. And I went, wow, what was that? So let me give you the background to it so that I can build you up into it with the suspense and everything that's associated with good storytelling. My two oldest grandsons, Landolin Christopher James. He's named after his two grandfathers, myself and his other grandfather. He's the oldest. He's 20 years old. Goes to Everett Community College. He's on the basketball team. He's a sophomore this year. His brother, who is a twin, that's 2 years younger, he's 18. His name's Jamal. His sister, Tasha, they're twins. They're interesting, very interesting kids. I love them. He came over also. What we did is I went bow hunting with my two oldest grandsons. Okay? So we went up to the Tucannon area. And it was really, really beautiful up there. And this is the very first week in September. Got the tent set up, and I'm glad I took my own tent. Oh, before I go any further, too, Paul, how you doing? Love ya. That's my cousin in Connecticut. He tunes in and watches all the time. So I'm glad I had my own tent, because after about day 2 or day 3, when I looked in their tent, covered with these little packages of potato chips. They were all empty, but the whole bottom of the tent floor was covered with those. Anyway, to make the long story short, because this really is, it's kind of interesting. I could tell you all kinds of things about this camping trip. But that first night we get there and I go, okay, boys, what are we going to have for dinner? Deer in the headlights. They brought their chips and they brought pop. And they had some candy bars. We're there for a week. We had steak that night. Then I said, who's cooking? I'm a great camp cook. So we did fine. It turned out really good. But the first 2 days, it was interesting. They had never been bow hunting before. They could shoot really well. They had been practicing, and they did all of that. But they didn't really know what to do. So I spent the first couple of days just kind of teaching them how to bow hunt. It was a lot of fun, and we did this and we did that. Well, the third day, if you remember, the first week in September, that's when that storm came through. Remember that? We're hunting out of tree stands. And actually, on the third day, I was actually able to put them in different spots in the woods, and I was about 1.5 miles down the road in a different spot. And I heard all of this thunder. And it kept getting louder and louder. Now, for me to get back to my vehicle, I have to come down out of a tree, and I'm in a metal tree stand. Okay, I've got to climb down out of a tree, and then I got to come through a section of woods, and then I cross an open field, and there's nothing in the field. Nothing. And I look up, and I look out, and wow, comes this huge lightning bolt straight down to the ground. And then the thunder was almost immediately after. And once you see the lightning and then you hear the thunder, you count 1, 2, you know about how far it was. I didn't have to count. It was like right there. Oh my God. I really didn't have to count. So I knew I needed to get down out of the tree and get out of there. So I got down out of the tree and I just booked across that open field and got into my vehicle, and I said, I got to get to the boys. We had little walkie-talkies. Now here's an interesting phenomena. When Landy was smaller, I'd say he was probably about 10 or 12, and I had taken him hunting with me then. I had walkie-talkies then too, and he went fishing. Fell into the water with the walkie-talkie, came back, it never worked again. His brother this time, because I'm not doing this again, I had a new set of walkie-talkies. I gave it to his brother. Bad move. After the first day, he could hear me talking. I couldn't hear him. He did something to it. I don't know. It still doesn't work. So anyway, they had the one that they can hear me talking, but I can't hear them. So at least I can communicate with them. So I'm driving down the road, lightning's following me, you know. I'd swear it's coming down the road right behind me. Boom, 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 you know. So I'm driving down the road, and I'm going, boys, get out of the woods. Meet me at the road. So by the time I got to where the rendezvous point, they were already at the road, and they were running. Okay, they were doing this. So I'm going, wow, interesting. So we got back to camp, and the wind was howling, and we went ahead and fixed dinner, and the lightning all night long. It was interesting. I sat out with a little easy chair outside of my tent, cup of coffee, and I just watched this wonderful, beautiful, celestial light show that was just gorgeous. It was gorgeous. So the next day I figure, okay, we lost today. That was Wednesday, so we'll get it on Thursday. Head back out there. The boys get back out there. I get back out there. Guess what? Storm again. Now, how many of you remember what it looks like when you have a pot of rice or noodles or something on the stove, you know, and it starts to boil over? You know how it boils over like that? Okay, I'm a little smarter today than I was the day before. I hear the thunder, I go, I'm getting out of the tree. This time I walk across the field, but as I look back, there's these mountains. And coming over the mountain, if you can picture that boiling over of rice or pasta was a cloud that had to be 2 miles long, stretching this way, and it was literally boiling over the mountain with lightning coming down like this. Okay? And I was going to take my phone out and take a picture of it, and it was coming so fast, I decided I really didn't have the time. Because with these new smartphones, you have to turn them on, and it takes them a little while to kind of like sync and get themselves ready to go. So it wasn't ready to go. So I said, I'm not doing it. I got to get the boys out of the tree. Why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because when I look back and I made that decision that I did not have enough time to take a picture of what I was seeing. I'd never seen this before. It was amazing. It was beautiful and scary. And when I thought back about that, I was frightened. Okay? I was frightened. And I thought about that for a number of days. And then I remembered something. I remembered something that I had read in Joseph Campbell's book. And I want to share that with you this morning because I thought it was very significant. The Power of Myth. How many of you saw the special on PBS, The Power of Myth, with Joseph Campbell? Wow. The book is the transcripts of that show. And what happened was Bill Moyer actually interviewed Joseph for about 24 hours of filming. They did 24 hours of filming. They did it at Lucas's Sky Ranch, the first part, and the second part they did at the museum in New York City. And so the program on PBS is actually 6 hours long, all right? And it is amazing if you really want to find out about the hero's journey and some of the myths that are really in the structure, in the DNA of who we are as human beings. You really want to see this or at least pick up the book. But the book goes into so much more because they had to cut so much when they made the show. But he said this, and this reminded me of that moment when I was frightened. Notice I said frightened, not afraid. Big difference in my mind. This is Joseph Campbell. He's passed on, but these are his words. People say that we are all seeking the meaning of life. I don't think that's what we're really seeking. I think that what we are really seeking is the experience of being alive. So that our life experience on a purely physical plane will have significance within our innermost being and reality, so that we actually feel the rapture of being alive. So let me put this all in context for you again. In that moment, I had looked back at this very angry cloud boiling over the mountain, coming over this little stretch of woods that I had my tree stand in, and starting to come across the field. And I was frightened because of the lightning that was coming down, and saying, I don't know if I have enough time to even turn my cell phone on to take a picture of it. And then I remembered this. And I didn't remember this then, in that moment. I remembered it a few days later. And I went, there's something about this experience that's significant. And then I came across this. So I'm going to read it for you one more time, because this was huge to me. And I think, well, I'm going to talk more about it. Let me read it one more time. Joseph Campbell's words. People say that what we are seeking is the meaning of life, the meaning for life. I don't think that's what we're really seeking. I think what we're really seeking is the experience of being alive, so that our life experience on a purely physical plane will have significance within our own innermost being and reality, so that we actually feel the rapture of being alive. Actually feel the rapture of being alive. Now, there's a lot of really, really very deep, powerful stuff that's being written these days, and have been written throughout the course of our history. And one of the things that keeps coming up is living in the moment, living in the rapture, if you will, of being alive. And I had a really interesting, wonderful conversation with this young lady right here a few weeks ago, when we were talking about being in the moment. And what does that really mean, being in the moment? Be here now. It really means, in my mind, and I'm not going to say, this is what Christopher Turner thinks, you have to believe this, or else, when you walk out the door, because there's a storm out there kind of brewing, lightning will hit you. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, this is how I view it. Being aware of being in the moment is being in the moment. Just being aware of it. If I was to actually say, I'm going to be completely in the moment, guess what? Oh, here's the moment. Wait, here's the moment. Whoop, oh, here's the moment. Whoop, there's the moment. The moment is down there. Oh, I'll never make it. The moment's constantly moving. So when they say be here now, when they say be in the moment, it doesn't mean you cannot any longer think about the past. Be aware that you're in the moment thinking about the past. It doesn't mean that you don't look at what you want to do in the future. Be aware that you're in the moment looking at the future. Because the moment is the only place that we can really be in, but you can't capture it. Okay? You can't capture it. You can only experience it. You can only experience the rapture. And I think that's what Joseph Campbell was talking about. He was saying the rapture of being alive. When you have an experience that makes you really feel alive, then you're really experiencing being in the moment. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Yeah. There is so much that is out there. There are so many paths. There are so many rivers that lead to the sea. Regardless of what river you take, regardless of what path you decide to walk, be it a Native American path, be it a Hindu path, be it a Buddhist path, a Christian path, it does not matter what path you choose. But if you feel the rapture of that path, if you can feel really alive and experience what you're experiencing there, you are living. You are here now. One of the things that if you get to know me, you'll know that I have a great love for Eastern philosophy. And one of my greatest things that I love to read, and I read it all the time, I have probably 4 books on the Tao Te Ching. They're all over my house. They're marked up. There's sticky papers in them and all kinds of things. And sometimes I just sit down and I turn everything off in the house. I don't want to hear the TV. I don't want to hear the radio. I pick up the Tao Te Ching and I open it. And whatever's there, I read it. And I experience what's there. Now, how many are you familiar with the Tao Te Ching? All right, a few of you. Let me give you a little bit of history on the Tao Te Ching. I always say this guy's name wrong, but that's okay. He forgives me. I say Lao Tzu. It might be different, but he was an older contemporary to Confucius, if you will. He was the keeper of the imperial archives of Luoyang in the province of Honan in the 6th century BC. Okay? All his life he taught that the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. All right? According to the ancient legend, and here's where we get back into the power of myths and legends and Greek mythology and all that other stuff. If you haven't really read any of the classics, give yourself the gift of starting to read them and getting to know our history and look at our bones, the bones of our people. According to ancient legend, as he was riding off into the desert to die, sick at heart at the ways of men. Sound familiar? He was persuaded by the gatekeeper in northwestern China to write down his teaching for prosperity. The essence of Taoism is contained in 81 chapters. Okay, there's 81 chapters in the Tao Te Ching. Roughly 5,000 words, which have for 2,500 years plus more now has provided one of the major underlining influences of Chinese thought and Chinese culture. It also emerged, you'll find it in their folklore, you'll find it in their proverbs. The Tao Te Ching is sort of a building block for a lot of things in China. Confucianism, or Confucius, really took off also in China, but Confucianism is concerned with the day-to-day rules of conduct, where Taoism is concerned with the more spiritual level of being. So that's the basic difference between the two, as I understand it. I added that, as I understand it, because we all have our own interpretation of things. And I only come here and share mine. You seem to like it, so I keep sharing. So when I opened my book, I opened it to chapter 8. And I will read chapter 8 for you, and then I'm going to break down how I interpreted chapter 8. Chapter 8 reads, "The highest good is like water. Water gives life to the 10,000 things and does not strife. It flows in places men reject, and so it is like the Tao. In dwellings, be close to the land. In meditation, go deep in your heart. In dealing with others, be gentle and kind. In speech, bless you, be true. In ruling, be just. In business, be competent. In action, watch the timing. No fight, no blame." That's chapter 8.